we've been doing this for 11 years, and during those 11 years, on average, Bitcoin has doubled every year for 11 years, and he's complaining it's taken so long. That is a great trade. I think it is great that there are really cool projects being built on Bitcoin. Things like Stacks, those are great. But people sometimes say, what's the killer app of Bitcoin? Bitcoin's the killer app of Bitcoin, right? There's so much wealth being stored, so much savings, so much cross-border money flows.
I think Bitcoin in the next year could go to $2.5 trillion of market cap.
In an interview with Aaron Arnold and Gary Cardone, the renowned Bitcoiners Anthony Scaramucci and Dan Morehead talked about market trends, institutional investment, the potential of Bitcoin, and the influence of Donald Trump. Because of the substantial amount of high-quality money flowing into exchange-traded funds, ETFs, which experts have undervalued, Gary Cardone said that Bitcoin is still an asymmetric gamble. Anthony Scaramucci clarified that Bitcoin is an asset class that ought to trade at least as much as the market capitalization of gold. Scaramucci predicted that this tendency will continue by citing instances of institutional investors like pension funds, allocating a portion of their assets to Bitcoin. Cardone agreed, pointing out that institutional investors aren't very exposed to Bitcoin and blockchain, so this is an inevitable and asymmetric trade. He underlined that this move, which individual investors mostly drove, was overlooked by smart money. Cardone was upbeat about the future, predicting that institutional investors would allocate more money to Bitcoin and blockchain technology to spur additional growth. Watch clips from the interview for further insights into Dan Morehead, Gary Cardone, and Anthony Scaramucci conversation. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more content. Enjoy the video.
Bitcoin still an asymmetric bet today, and why? Help educate us. Gary, I'll throw it to you first.
It feels to me like it's asymmetrical. I think everyone's underestimated. These guys have been here a lot longer than I have. I have not met one person that got close to the estimates of the quality or the volume that is rolling into these ETFs. The quality is staggering, and the volume is spectacular, I think. When every expert in Bitcoin can miss that volume by 3-4x, I don't think anyone really understands how asymmetrical this could possibly be.
Everybody missed it.
Everyone.
What do you think, Anthony?
So, I'll put it very simplistically. It's an asset class, so therefore it shouldn't trade to the market capitalization of NVIDIA or Apple. It's got to trade to the market capitalization of gold. And I would argue that it's better than gold, so it'll probably trade to a market capitalization above gold. And then I'll just say two quick things. The Jersey City, the mayor just said 2% exposure for the pension fund into Bitcoin. The state of Wisconsin is saying they've got $150 million that they announced last month or 2 months ago in Bitcoin. And we'll be on this stage next year. Someone will be on this stage explaining that the tactical asset allocation models for all institutional investors will have a 1, 2, possibly 3% exposure to Bitcoin. And so when you think about the magnitude of that, I don't see how you don't trade to the market capitalization of gold.
Yeah, I totally agree with Anthony. That's the right way to look at it. We were at Goldman when they did the GSCI, and now everybody thinks of commodities as an asset class, doing emerging markets in the 90s, and now everybody thinks of emerging markets as an asset class. In probably 5 years tops, every institutional investor on earth will have a blockchain team. They're going to have an allocation. It's going to be like 800 basis points or something like that. And the reason I'm still so bullish, and I think it's still so asymmetric, nobody has that allocation right now. Right. This is the first trade smart money missed, right? It's all individuals like you in the audience that did this. Almost all institutions have either 0 or less than 1% of their assets in blockchain. And so it's not only the most asymmetric trade I've ever seen, I think it's the most inevitable trade I've ever seen. Like, it might take longer than we all think.
Right.
It might have some ups and downs, which it does. But basically, everybody with a smartphone is going to be using blockchain in 10 years, right? Like, it's just that obvious. So that's why I still think it is still very asymmetric, because institutions have yet to really address it.
If Trump wins, is that orders of magnitude better for Bitcoin?
Whatever my personal disagreements are with the president, policy, et cetera. I applaud him for embracing this technology and for embracing this commodity. I applaud him for it. And I'll tell you something that he's done for this industry, which all of us have to be grateful for. He's pushed the debate, okay? And so it was reported, so I'll share it with you. Mark Cuban, myself, Michael Novogratz, representatives from Kraken. We had a whole group of people, not just Kraken, but others. Mr. Garlinghouse was with us. We sat with Ro Khanna, other members of the Congress, Senator Gillibrand, Anita Dunn from the White House. And I don't think we're having that meeting with the Democrats without Donald Trump. And so I want to applaud the president for that. And I'm hopeful that we can push the Democrats into the swimming pool with us. And I'll just conclude by saying this. It's in the interest of the industry and all the Bitcoin holders out here and people that believe in the long-term prosperity that we can garner from digital assets, that we make this bipartisan. We want this regulation to be propitious and bipartisan. And I think President Trump deserves the credit for moving people into the middle on this.
The panel addressed whether Bitcoin needed a robust token economy to achieve growth. Dan Morehead stated that Bitcoin's biggest strength is its store of value, making it a fantastic achievement for the world. Though Anthony Scaramucci is investing in Bitcoin for its store of value and believes that its market cap might reach $2.5 trillion in a year, he believes that Bitcoin's token economy could help it exceed gold. On the other hand, Morehead stated that he anticipates the cost to double to about $160,000. According to Gary Cardone, possessing at least 0.1 Bitcoin might make you a millionaire in 20 years. The panel stressed the value of long-term, fixed-amount investing in Bitcoin to increase one's nest egg, even in the face of its volatility. Let's go back to the interview and watch more clips to gain insights from the trio of Gary Cardone, Dan Morehead, and Anthony Scaramucci.
I think it is great that there are really cool projects being built on Bitcoin. Things like Stacks, those are great. But, people sometimes say, what's the killer app of Bitcoin? Bitcoin's the killer app of Bitcoin, right? There's so much wealth being stored, so much savings, so much cross-border money flows. So even if, nothing else gets built on top of Bitcoin, it is an amazing development for the world.
Bitcoin is fantastic, but if you can layer on a token economy, in addition, it will go way more exponential. It'll likely surpass gold because we've seen what token economies can do to other coins. And so the question is the technology there, and can you execute the technology on Bitcoin vis-a-vis a token economy? And the answer is yes. But I don't think, and I'll speak for myself, and maybe Dan and Gary will disagree with me, I'm not making the investment for that reason.
Correct.
I'm making the investment because this is sort of the purest store of value. If you study history and the history of money and the technology known as money, this is the purest store of value. And just 30 seconds on this, I'm writing a book for John Wiley called The Little Book of Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor has agreed to do the forward for me, which I'm very grateful for. And I went to interview Peter Diamandis, and he said to me, you remember meeting Hal Finney, don't you? And I said, actually, no, I don't remember meeting Hal Finney, but Peter Diamandis introduced me to Hal Finney. Of course, he was the first person to receive a coin from the Nakamoto wallet. And I met Hal Finney in 2014. Don't tell my children that I met Hal Finney in 2014 because I didn't buy any Bitcoin. But I just want you to think about what they did to perfect this and to decentralize it. And so you don't need the token economy. What you need is for people just to adopt Bitcoin as they are doing and just let it scale.
I think Bitcoin in the next year could go to $2.5 trillion of market cap. And that's the way I like to look at it rather than the price. I like to look at it relative to a NVIDIA.
So what, Bitcoin is what now? What
We're at 1.3, so that would be another billion.
Okay.
Another trillion of value. Mm-hmm. So 30 grand. I mean, and to these guys' point, I don't think you need the cream and the cherry on the top to make an investment decision in Bitcoin. Now, if all the tokenomics like if that happens, we're so underestimating this.
Dan, 1 year from today, what do you think Bitcoin's price will be?
So my standard answer is always double, because that's what it's done on average for 11 years. But actually, I think this political unlock makes me more bullish. So I think it's going to be more than a double, 160,000, something like that.
160,000. Anthony, any?
Yeah, so I'm in Dan. If this is the price is right, I'm going to go 10,000 more than Dan. But I do believe that, though, because if you look at the halving cycle and you look at the supply-demand dynamics, you typically get a 4x move from the halving, and that implies 160, 170. And I think that's something that can very much so happen. I mean, are there geopolitical shocks that could hurt it? Possibly. But I also see Bitcoin decoupling over the next 12 months. So meaning, I don't think it's going to be as tied to the NASDAQ, or it's not going to be as tied to supply shocks like a Mt. Gox or a selling of the German government and things like that. I think
people are, once they get into Bitcoin, if you buy 0.1 Bitcoin, I think you start looking at your other assets. Like I sold a house. I'm starting to compare everything in Bitcoin terms. I have a beautiful home, but it's not worth $76 million. Not in any matrix is it worth that. And if I would have deployed that same money 4 years ago, into Bitcoin, it would be $72 million. That is life-changing money for anyone. So that could have been an $800,000 house. It would still be $7.6 million. I think people need to work harder, do more hours, making fiat, which is the best mining on the planet, work 20 more hours a week, and then buy Bitcoin.
Since its June highs, the cryptocurrency market has dramatically collapsed, shedding around $800 billion. The price of Bitcoin fell to less than $50,000 on Monday before somewhat increasing. This was after it hit $70,000 in July, due to optimism surrounding Donald Trump's intentions for the cryptocurrency. Coinbase's head of institutional research, David Duong, cautions against buying Bitcoin, despite Mark Cuban's bullish price forecast. According to Duong, the unwinding of the Japanese yen carry trade, set off by the Bank of Japan's interest rate hike, is causing market trepidation. As a result, there has been a sell-off in Japanese stocks and a general market decline. Duong anticipates that the market disruption will continue in the near future, with a possible recovery in the coming days. He does warn, though, that the market is still in trouble and that more people may be concerned about the recession in the upcoming weeks. Duong is still upbeat about the fourth quarter, but anticipates a turbulent market in the third. Rather than marking the beginning of a new market cycle, the current sell-off is perceived as a defensive phase. The strength of this surge has tested Coinbase's conviction, but they are still cautious and ready for more market swings. Duong adds that the market may be impacted by the Fed's decision in the middle of September, and that their prediction of a volatile market in the third quarter is still valid. As we conclude, what are your thoughts on this interview? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and hit your thumbs on the like button. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.